Alrighty, welcome everybody to another show of the Relevant Recruiter Show. Today I've got an amazing guest, my friend Lorenz Esposito. Lorenz, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Don. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So Lorenz is with Potentialpark, and we're going to get into what they've got going on. They've got a really killer platform that's going to provide a lot of market research and data and help with candidate engagement. Before we get into that, Lorenz, where are you located right now in the world?
So in this moment, I'm in the U.S., which is where I'm from, but I currently live in Sweden right now, and that's where Potentialpark is also from.
Awesome. So you're hopping across the pond here and there, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Going back and forth every now and then.
Awesome. So I know, after some of our conversations that you are a former Division I soccer player. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, it was good. So I ended up graduating in 2018 from College of Charleston. I spent my first year and a half at the University of Connecticut, where I played Division I soccer. And it brought me down to Charleston, South Carolina to continue my career. The last couple of years of my college career, I was playing there. And yeah, it was good. It's just a lot of work going between school and training and everything else that goes on in college. So it's been a good experience. And now I live in Sweden. So once I graduated, I went straight overseas. And now I still play over there. And I'm also working as well at Potentialpark.
Awesome. So you're playing professionally in Sweden?
Yeah, I think, professionally, semi-pro. Working my way up the ladder still. When I got over there, I was playing Division V. Now I'm bumped up to Division III. Just trying to make my way up the ladder and see as far as I can go with it.
Awesome, man. I'd love to pretend like I knew what Division V and Division III is, but I'm a real football guy, not a soccer football.
A real football guy.
Well, cool, man. So how long you've been over in Sweden? You said for about a year now, right?
Yeah, it's so I moved in August 2018. Yeah, I think it's about a year and a couple months now. It's been a crazy experience. Yeah, I never thought my wildest dreams I'd be overseas. Mm-hmm. Living in Sweden, but right. Here I am, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's unbelievable.
That's great. What are some of the biggest things when it comes to, the American life versus, living over there in Sweden? What are some of the biggest things you've had to, adapt and change to?
I mean, I think an obvious one would just be the language. The everyday language I hear on the train, the buses, walking through the city, it's Swedish. I mean, it's rightfully so. But then to actually engage someone in conversation, I'm very lucky that people do actually speak English over there, and very well too. But yeah, I'd say that was one of the biggest difficulties at first, because even in training, all the coaches speak Swedish.
Oh, okay.
So, but the good thing is when you have the ball at your feet, you're speaking the same language, I like to think. So it's a little bit easier to understand. Very
cool. Very cool. So I know that the soccer journey, bringing you over to Sweden, has also created your opportunity into the recruiting space. And, your story is pretty similar to mine, where you kind of just, fell into this industry. And I feel like a lot of people just kind of fall into the recruiting industry. I don't think anybody went to school for it. But, tell us about how you got into your company, Potentialpark.
Sure. So it actually started when I first moved to Sweden. The first team I played for, one of my teammates at the time, ended up finding a job at Potentialpark. And so that was kind of my segue into the company. And just from there, it's grown into a year of working there. Absolutely love it. It's amazing to work within this industry, and, all the amazing people I've met on LinkedIn, Instagram. So it's super, super interesting. And that's kind of just how I got into it. Nothing too crazy, but I just kind of lucked out at the same time that I was able to find someone, a teammate, who could help me out. And finding a company that needed an English speaker was also a very difficult thing to find, but that's also how it worked out for me.
Perfect. That's great, man. So your role at the company is a digital marketing strategist, correct?
Yeah, digital marketing specialist, whatever. Just marketing, I think, is the gist of it too.
Got it. You're in charge of the awareness, huh?
Yes.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about Potentialpark. What is the company? What does it do? Give us a little bit of high-level overview of it.
Sure. So Potentialpark, we are a market research company, And every year we survey candidates, job seekers, undergrads, and we help, we try to figure out what their needs and preferences are through what they're telling us. And so after we get our survey results in, we'll then go check out to see what employers are doing around the world, globally and regionally as well. So what we do is we end up getting all this market research on candidates, and we use it to basically just help employers develop data-driven recruiting and employer brand strategies. I think just the way that the world's moving, that you need to back up what you're doing with numbers and data, and that's exactly what we try to do for these companies.
That's excellent. Now, I know you weren't one of the founders, but do you know what the original inspiration was from the founders for starting a company like this?
Yeah, I think I have a little idea of what it was. I know that one of our founders, Torgil, he previously worked with another company, Universum, and he just had the vision of trying to bring the voice of candidates to the table. So, and I know that he believed that every candidate deserves to have their voice heard, because not only does it benefit the companies in the long run when you can recruit who wants to be there, but it also helps candidates get jobs easier. So I think that was kind of his inspiration, trying to help candidates find jobs easier, but also help employers recruit easier as well.
Got it. Now you said that obviously this is market research, and without giving away your secret sauce here, I mean, where are you guys collecting the information? Is this throughout the web? Do you guys have algorithms? Is it scraped? Is it manual? I mean, again,
yeah. So yeah, it's a great question. No, it's basically we just have a survey that we send out annually between September, October, November, so about a 2 to 3 month period. And this is where we send our surveys to universities, big universities, business schools. And we just, we have their students and undergrads and anyone who's seeking for a job, give us, information. What is it you're looking for on certain channels? What is it you look for, on social media, career website. And so all these different aspects of job searching, we know all about. And so, yeah, that's how we do it, just through surveys.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what would you say, is the market that mainly the main candidate that you're focusing on, is it kind of that entry-level candidate of somebody coming out of school or college, or is it encompass the entire market? Yeah,
so we actually have 2 products, and one of the products is actually very driven towards, the undergrad, early post-grad job seekers. Mm-hmm. Then we also have, another part of it where we have perception panels where we can help employers, actually get their specific target candidate to come to their website and tell us what they think about it. So we kind of go both directions, but we cover, I would say, between the 19 to 27, 28 age range.
Got it. Now, will you build these campaigns out custom for an employer? I mean, if they wanted something a little bit more, off what your guys' core product is?
Yeah. So, I mean, if an employer gets very in depth and they want something more specific, mm-hmm. region, perhaps, our main survey that we send out, we can cover that. But so let's say, we're lacking a certain region around the world. Then that's when we'll go kind of redo our main survey and just send it out in that location so that then we can recruit, a good perception of candidates for that company. So yeah, we definitely tailor it based off of what the employers are looking for. We have a base for it, but then, we branch out where we need to.
Got it. And like we talked about before, a lot of the people that are listening to this podcast here are going to be in that, third-party agency role.
Yeah.
How does your platform support from that angle?
Yeah, I mean, what our dashboard provides is just an overall view of what candidates look for on each channel: social, career website, ATS, and mobile. And the way that recruiting agencies can actually utilize this is through it's just enhancing what they already do. So if they have a better clue of what candidates look for on specific channels, and they know how to sort of navigate through all this content, I think that will just make their jobs easier and, more accurate with what they're doing. And when you're able to do that, then you're satisfying their own clients' needs. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that would be my take for that.
Got it. And, it sounds like one of the main, benefits of using this platform is around candidate engagement. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Got it. When it kind of comes to candidate engagement, what kind of tips do you have with, if you were to kind of combine your platform with, a strategy you could kind of lay out for somebody? I mean, how would you, after they review the information, what's kind of the next steps from there?
Yeah, so that's a good question. What we're finding on candidates is that, I'll give you an example right now, is that candidates in 2020, there's an aversion right now for sponsored content. Mm-hmm. So what this means is that, they're not necessarily clicking on it, but they're seeing it, and it's becoming relevant in their minds. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to know that, companies need to keep relevant content on the right channels. We see a lot because we also audit employers, right, for their digital job searching, career websites and everything. And, we're able to see who's performing very well and who's not. And you'll be very surprised. There's some real big employers around the world who just aren't, communicating the talent very well right now. Mm-hmm. And I think these are some situations where recruiting agencies can come into play and pick up the slack for them through mm-hmm. using data. But I mean, as an employer or as a recruiting agency, some specific information that you can kind of get is that, on LinkedIn, job ads work phenomenal. Like, that's an amazing thing. And that's what you should, that should be a focus of LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. When you come on to, let's say, Facebook or Instagram, we're seeing that it's very highly valued to have more insights about the culture of the company and, who works there, how do they like their everyday life, et cetera. And let's say we go to YouTube. I think the biggest takeaway from that is show off the workplace. People want to see how is it, every day is like there. What does it look like? Is it inspiring? What type of, environment is it? Like, can you be productive? Do you have fun? So I think that's, when you get this type of data from our dashboard, this is mm-hmm. sort of the direction you can go in, because we're giving you content specific features that you can actually apply almost right away. And we don't just give you, a list of what they are, but we also provide you with, the best practices, what your competitors are doing, what's a differentiating feature that you can provide that someone isn't. So, you can go all over the place with this. But we definitely, it's a nice dashboard, and it gives a lot of information away.
Yeah. I think that's amazing, man. I talk to my clients all the time about having a multi-channel approach, and, so many people in this industry are just, their focus is purely on LinkedIn and what can they get out of LinkedIn. And I feel like I literally just posted about this before we got on here. People boast about, oh, I don't use Facebook. And it's like, it's a brag for them. Like, I would never use Facebook. And I get it. There's a lot of things, that people may not like about that platform and how, the leadership of the platform of Facebook, and then what you see as content. But the reality of it is there's plenty of clients and candidates that are still using the platform. And it's not really about, if you like it or not, it's about how you leverage it and turn it into revenue driving. And when you're doing things, like you said, having relevant content, there's different content that's going to be relevant in different spots and to tell a complete story around your brand. There's just so much noise in today's world, but yeah, I love that you guys are doing that multi-channel.
Yeah. And I think just to your point there, I think if we just look back, maybe let's say just 10 years ago, for argument's sake, there were a lot of question marks about, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. And I think now that when you look at them, they aren't just socializing platforms anymore. Like, this is society. People are so ingrained. This is so ingrained into society right now that employers have no choice but to be active on these channels. And it's not just about being active, but it's about being, accurate too with the content you're putting out there.
Right.
You have to, no one wants to see the same thing on 5 channels at the same time, because then it takes away from the purpose of, why do you go to Instagram if you can just get it on Facebook? Or, why are you looking at this company on Snapchat when they just posted that on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the same time? So, there's strategy that comes into this. And, being as tailored and content specific on these channels is one of the best routes to winning over the candidate.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, because so many people are, especially in the recruiting side, are just getting used to creating content. There's a lot of resistance around it. And then when you provide, the data that you guys are, I mean, that just makes their job a heck of a lot easier on, well, hey, one of the biggest things that holds people up is, well, what should I talk about? Right? What should I post? And it's so important to have that presence. But I think the key, that you keep on going back to is making sure that the content is relevant to that person. And I'm a firm believer in that. I mean, that's what I work with my clients on is the relevant recruiter method. It's how to be relevant at the right place at the right time. And both for clients and candidates. And there's just so much out there when you start looking at the multi-channel approach. So I just think that's amazing that you guys are doing that at that level.
Yeah.
What are you guys seeing? I know a lot of people talk about, these different platforms. What are you seeing specifically? Curious about YouTube and what you're seeing on YouTube from the, candidate attraction side.
I mean, I think one of the biggest takeaways, I even mentioned it earlier, was just showcasing the workplace. Yep. Can't give away too much of the content that's valued by candidates, because that is what we sell.
Yeah.
But yeah, workplaces, that's just one of the, that's like a no-brainer. That's something that's a must-have, need to have feature that you need to be showcasing on your YouTube channels. For me, it's just, when I look at employers, even in Sweden, I want to know what coming into the office will look like. It's a candidate-driven market. They have the last say. They're the ones who are choosing really right now, in my opinion. So I think you have to do as much as you can to sort of give this candidate, what is it like to really work for you and walk through your doors.
Right.
Once you do that, then if they can start envisioning themselves working for you, you're just one step closer to getting him or her through the door. And at the end of the day too is, I think the most important thing is to be honest and authentic with your content, because the more accurate depiction you give of you as an employer will either push away certain candidates or it'll just reel other candidates in faster. So the more honest and authentic you are, is just staying true to who you are, then it'll help you recruit, I would say, more efficiently. And, at the end of the day, lower turnover of the company as well.
Got it. What are you seeing, going into these different platforms like YouTube? I mean, what are you seeing on Facebook? Are people just trying to leverage that content organically, or are you seeing more paid advertisement on Facebook with leveraging what you guys are providing?
We're seeing it, I think we're seeing it both ways. What we kind of found, this year, it's a little bit more different, is that, people are still there, it's becoming such a bigger deal to push more sponsored content out. What we found was that not a lot of people are clicking on it, but they did say that they saw it.
Right.
So, it works both ways, because, you want them to see it. Yes, you want them to engage with it. That's another story. But at the end of the day, it's just trying to get those little pieces into their head. So they're saying, okay, I saw that job opening. Maybe I'll, go back to it later if I don't click on it. And I think that's an important thing, is just create that awareness that, hey, we're looking for this position. We need it filled. Come and apply at some point. I would say that, something just as a recommendation is, keep posting organically, keep using stories on Facebook and Instagram. We see that these are such a big added value for candidates, and they love it. So it's one of those things where you need to, you understand what type of content you need to be posting on these channels, and, it'll make your job as a recruiter much easier.
That's great advice. What are you seeing on the Instagram channel that's different from, say, Facebook?
Instagram, that's, like I brought up before, a lot of culture insights is a huge thing. What we started seeing was a lot more interviews with employees. That kind of took off a little bit, 2019, 2020. It's trying to just, like I said before, it's trying to showcase what it's really like to work for you. You want to know how are you treated as an employee, not just inside the workplace, but outside. And something big that we've also started seeing was that, companies they're valuing the outside workplace a lot more. And so we're seeing, content that's showcasing how people have been acting outside the workplace, what they do with their family, or how they helped them win a trip somewhere. So it's cool to be able to see like an employer taking care of their employees. And that's something that Instagram's brought to light a lot more. So we're hoping that that's the continuing trend in this situation. But yeah, I'd say that's something big right now.
Is there any kind of, I don't know, case study or something where you say, hey, somebody was engaging with the social media platform this way, they started using Potentialpark, and this happened with their results? Is there anything you can share around that?
I would say I don't have anything off the top of my head. I'd be able to touch base on L'Oreal, for example, with their social media.
Okay.
Their clients are ours in a couple markets, and I just know that they do an incredible job of, how they're posting, the type of content they're putting out there. They usually do a great job of just, checking off all the checklists of what we look for at Potentialpark. But yeah, I would say that they just do a phenomenal job of how they communicate to their candidates and the type of content they're putting out there. They're very organized, and yeah, I actually wrote an article on them about, the 5 most important pieces of content in 2019 for recruiting.
Right.
So they made it on there.
Very cool. Very cool. What are the 5 most important pieces of content, if you don't mind sharing, if you remember that off the top of your head?
I might have to look back at my article, but this is 2019 information. Let's see.
Any recommendations for 2020? I mean, not to put you on the spot, but anything that just kind of comes to your head here?
Yeah, I mean, I think without giving so much away of what we do, like I brought up already, it was just, having a focus of job ads on LinkedIn, having the culture insights, Facebook, Instagram, and workplace on YouTube. Those are just content features that are their must-haves on those channels. It's not new news, but it's stuff where, we still see employers in our talent communication rankings where they don't do this. And it's actually mind-boggling that still employers till this day, they don't show anything of the workplace on YouTube.
Right.
They're not posting job ads on LinkedIn. They don't post consistently. They're not organic yet. Maybe they only do too much sponsored content. So, I would say those are some of the big takeaways from those channels, at least.
Got it, man. I love it. What am I missing about Potentialpark? Is there anything else that I should be asking you that we're missing here, or that you want to share about it?
I don't know. I mean, you've covered quite a bit of what we do. I'd say that just one other part of what we have is that we have these rankings, for employers. Mm-hmm. And so we have them in several markets: Italy, France, Germany, US, UK, Asia, Europe, and global. And so it would be interesting, maybe from the recruiting agency side of things, to, take a look at our rankings, see what type of employers aren't performing well, and maybe that just gives them an idea of someone to reach out to.
Got it.
So I think that would be a good start from that aspect of things.
Got it. And how would the recruiters go about accessing that, the rankings?
So we have our summits coming up, and so it's called the Talent Communication Summit, and This is where we disclose the rankings for 2020. So we have 4 of them, and the first one is in Milan, Italy, February 18th. Then we have Berlin in Germany, February 20th. Then we have France, March 3rd in Paris. And then the US in New York City, March 10th. So this is where you're going to get the full list, and all the employers who are in our rankings will be seeing for the first time where they ranked and how they got there. So that's it. That's
amazing, man. You got yourself a busy month coming up here soon.
Yeah, very busy.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing everything around the platform. I mean, what are you most excited about personally, around this opportunity that you're involved with right now?
I think I'm most excited about is just seeing how, employers, because, being able to actually see which employers work with us and seeing how their channels are changing. One of the cooler parts about what we do is that we can see the trends of companies over time. So we can see the progression of how, company A performed in 2016 to how they're performing now in 2020. And we see the biggest jumps with these companies is when they're actually our clients. Right. Because now they have this data and all this information where they can apply it. And, it's not fake information. Like, this is just what candidates tell us every year. And it's changing in little places here and there. And so it's super cool just to be able to see, how, the relationships that some of our team has with other employers and seeing how they progress over time.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
That's great. What are some of the things, with early on in your career? I mean, who's been kind of impactful for you in your professional life, up to this point?
Yeah. Which profession would you say? Soccer?
Well, no, let's talk about the recruiting side.
I don't know. I mean, I've kind of, a lot of my growth has come from just being very active with my own career. I'm on LinkedIn every single day, and I've developed a lot of amazing relationships. I would maybe say that, I don't know if he'll want me to say this, but this guy from the US, Nate, and I could be saying his last name wrong, Gujia.
Okay.
Been a huge influence over me the past couple of months. We connected on LinkedIn, and his company Job Portraits is actually sponsoring and also speaking at our US summit. And we've developed a great relationship going back and forth, talking shop about employer branding, recruiting with startups and just, major corporations. And it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, he's been a big influence and mentor to me in a way, because he's so active on LinkedIn that, I aspire to do that as well. It's difficult with certain, external forces that, happen, but yeah, he's just someone who's, been there on LinkedIn that I like to follow and look after.
Thank you for sharing. Maybe I'll have to reach out to him for to be guest on the show as well.
He would love to do it. I know he would.
Cool, man. I appreciate you being here and sharing everything. And where can our listeners find you at?
Yeah, I would say the best way is just LinkedIn, Lorenz Esposito. Yeah, I think I don't know how many there are out there with that type of name, but Potentialpark is where I work in Sweden, so I think that'll narrow it down quite a bit.
Yeah, cool. And what's the website for Potentialpark? Why don't you go ahead and drop that?
Yeah, it's just www.potentialpark.com. So
awesome. Well, what's one last tip you can leave us with, Lorenz? I mean, you've dropped a ton of value, but if you were to kind of sum up one thing when it comes to candidate engagement and this data that you guys are really pushing right now and what you're seeing, I mean, what's one key takeaway that you want to leave everyone with?
I would say that just tailor your content, be channel specific with it. That's going to be the quickest and most efficient way to getting a candidate on board is by, putting out the right content for each channel. You don't go to Instagram for the same reason as LinkedIn or Snapchat. So it's about tailoring your content on each channel and just being authentic with it as well. I think that's the most important thing is that, you don't want to, lie about anything about your company because at the end of the day, it'll come back to bite you in the ass. You have to be just truthful, honest, and the right people will come to you. So I'd say content and tailoring specifically will be the strongest suit that you can do.
Love that, man. Couldn't agree more. Again, thank you so much for being here, Lorenz. Appreciate you. For everyone else, this is Until the next show, we will talk to you soon.